Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of the Z Garage, and I don't have any space to put my camera on today, so I'm just doing handheld. But as you can see, we have paint on the Z finally. If you guys watched my live stream, first of all, thank you for watching it. And second of all, you saw kind of the first, couple laydowns of paint on this car, and I've got to say it's going pretty well. There's obviously a few mistakes that I need to go ahead and correct, and I'll show you guys those in just a second. But it is looking really, really good. So today, this is Saturday, so we painted on Friday. We're gonna go ahead and do all the rest of the painting today, so we should be able to do another layer of color in some areas we need to touch up, and then we'll do the mid coat and the top coat today. So everything's looking really, really good. There's a few areas, see if I can get you guys right there. I know it's kind of hard to see in that light spot. Right there is a little fleck of paint, so we're gonna go ahead and chip that off, sand it down, and then the real big area that I didn't realize until after we were finished is this piece of plastic right here came and stuck to the door. So there's like no paint right here. So we need to go ahead and sand this down and then repaint this area. Now there's a couple other places that have just like tiny little bits of like dust and debris in them. So we'll go ahead and clean them up as well. But it is looking good. I don't know if you guys can see quite how shiny this is. This is looking so good. Here's another area right there where there's a little bit of stuff. This area has a few bits. I was explaining in my video, my live video, that somebody on the last video that I posted had commented, don't put plastic next to this because stuff can blow off of the plastic and onto the paint. And I was going to go ahead and switch it over, but I ran out of time to paper. But basically that's what happened. Is there were a couple pieces of paint here from the sanding and priming process. They got blown up and over. I didn't anticipate how much air actually comes out of this gun, and it really just kind of blows stuff all over. So there's a couple little specks around here, a few on the other side, obviously that big piece right there that we need to go ahead and take care of. But overall it is looking really good. So there's a few areas as well. I don't know if you guys can see it as well. A little more rough and orange peely than like the smooth, beautiful kind of gloss on top here. This side has a little bit, and this side over here, I know there's not as much light over here, but this side is a little bit duller as well. So what we did is painted yesterday around 2 to 3 p.m. And the repaint window for this I think is like 8 to 12 hours. So we're outside of the repaint window. So what we need to go ahead and do is actually scuff the whole car again before we lay the next layer on. And that's going to be fine because we obviously need to go ahead and fill a couple of those areas, sand those down. So I was okay with waiting, and then we're going to put a new fresh layer on, nice and thick if we can, just so that we can go ahead and kind of get this nice gloss coat everywhere. And then we'll go ahead and give that half an hour to dry. And then we'll put on the mid coat, probably 1 or 2 coats of that. And then we'll go ahead and wait another half an hour for that one to dry up. And then we'll go ahead and put probably 3, maybe 4 layers of the top coat on, just depending on how we're feeling, how we're doing on time and everything. So everything's looking really good, guys. Let me go over the paint that I was using. So I originally was going to, I know it's been a whole fiasco, all the paint that I had to use. I ended up getting custom paint made by a shop here in town, which is this white here. And I know it's kind of, oh, it's just a white. This is Nissan 326 Super White. This is the color this car originally came in. So if I stopped right now and I just put a gloss coat on it, this car, I'm not gonna say it would perfectly match, like the door sills and everything, but this is what the color that this came off the showroom floor was. This was Nissan Super White. So it's really cool that I was able to go ahead and get them to mix it up for me. It was a little bit more expensive than I was going to go ahead and do. I was really trying to minimize how much money I spent on paint, but I ended up spending, it was $300 a gallon for the paint, and then another $125 for the hardener. So after tax, I paid $450, give or take, for the paint, the hardener, and that's just this color coat. The mid coat that I have over there, down there, that was about $110 for everything. And then the gloss coat, the clear coat, it's that second square tin right there. That was another almost $400. So I really wanted to avoid spending about $1,000 on paint. I ended up doing it. but you can get it for cheaper. So the paint I was going to use before I got this mixed here locally was a Summit white, and I just forgot to buy the hardener, and I really, really wanted to paint yesterday. So I had to go locally and get this stuff. But the Summit white paint plus the hardener, it's about $150, $160 for a gallon. And then you can also find cheaper clear coat on there as well. Now, I'm not going to say that that's what you should do. I don't know if that's a great idea or not, because I haven't used those paints, but they are cheaper, you know, than obviously this route that we're going here, which is very, very expensive. But this is all really high quality, and I don't know exactly how much the paint has to do with the laydown texture, but there's very little orange peel in this, and it looks really, really good. So I am extremely excited. Everything is coming out so well so far, and I just cannot wait. So another thing that I had an issue with in the live stream, I mentioned it, but it was kind of hard to tell. The floor, when it gets coated in this paint, because this paint is mixed with a hardener and activator, it gets really, really tacky and really, really sticky. And so I was, you know, like pulling up sections of my tape over here, sections of this plastic, as I was trying to walk around, and it was getting extremely, extremely difficult. So we're gonna go ahead and, you know, tape everything down much, much better today. I have some more boot covers. You can see these are some used ones here. I have some more boot covers that go on your shoes, and I think I'll probably swap out after a coat or two when it gets a little bit sticky, just because that was making it very difficult to maneuver properly. And I ended up kind of, you know, flicking like stuff into the paint because I was trying to like get away. So we're gonna go ahead and work on that. So yeah, sanding. We're gonna tape everything down. I need to retape a couple things. You can see the plastic kind of fell over there from just being out and around, but everything is looking really, really good, guys. So hopefully today we can get all of the rest of the color on this and the gloss on this. And I'm really, really excited, guys. This is looking so good. So I'm gonna stop rambling. We're gonna get down to work. I don't know exactly how much I'll show in this video. I'll go over my setup once I have everything reset up again, because I did kind of show it briefly in the live stream, but I'll show it here as well in case you guys are curious exactly how I have this set up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get down to work, and hopefully everything goes really, really well, and we have a great looking car by the end of the day. So I'm excited. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright guys, well, it doesn't really look like there's been much of a change, but we are actually done painting. It has been about a week and a half since the live stream. That's given us plenty of time to go ahead and harden up. I left a heater on in here for the first like 48 hours to make sure that this, you know, stayed at a nice relative temperature for everything to go ahead and harden. And it is looking so, so good. I don't know if I can really get the color on camera for you guys. It is really hard to see on camera. So I'll go ahead and put an overlay right now of other pictures that I took with my phone, so you guys can kind of see what we're looking at. And as you can tell, it is a very beautiful small flake metallic, and it looks so, so good, guys. I'm so happy with how this came out. Everything is looking beautiful. The car looks still like a very nice white from far away. And then you get up close and you're like, wow, that is a very nice, subtle metallic. It looks so good, guys. So I'm super, super happy with it. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the setup real quick because I believe I said that I was going to in the last video. And I did kind of, you know, tear down a little bit because obviously it's been a bit of time and I've been in here doing other stuff. But imagine there was an air compressor in my kitchen right over there. I'm using a 21-gallon oil-free air compressor from Harbor Freight. The reason I chose that specific one is because it goes up to 175 PSI, and then it's 21 gallons of capacity. So it is just a huge amount of air that it has, and it is just exactly what we need to go ahead and paint. So the compressor was on pretty much most of the time that I was spraying, and then it would turn off, you know, after a minute or two of not spraying. So it did definitely need all of that air. I think I wouldn't have been as happy if I had gotten the smaller one. I think it's a 19-gallon, but it's only 125 max PSI. Which means that you're just not getting as much air stored up in there. And I would have been a little bit more cautious about losing pressure at the gun. But with the 21-gallon tank, it was perfect. I never saw any issues with it losing pressure. And I'm very, very happy with it. So guys, it goes from the tank in there. It also helped keep down the noise in here. A line going through here. I left that door open, and actually it was very beneficial. So I had a window open in my kitchen, had that door open, and then I actually opened the garage door, you know, put plastic on the outside, and then took one of these box fans with filters on it and pointed it outside. So that it was sucking in from interior and pushing out exterior. And basically that created negative pressure in here, which sucked in the fresh air from in my kitchen. And it kind of made this nice, beautiful, you know, like, it really wasn't a current because it was very dispersed, but it was sucking out all of the toxic paint fumes, and it was bringing in nice, clean air. And guys, that setup worked so well. I highly recommend you guys doing something like that if you're going to be replicating this process. Always have fresh air being pulled in and toxic air being pulled out, because I think if I didn't have that, it would have been much more difficult, much more toxic in here, and it would have just been a really rough time. So always have some fresh air getting pulled in, so that you guys can go ahead and make sure that you're staying healthy, because you don't want all of that going into your lungs. Towards the end, I could tell the filters on these box fans were getting clogged up. They're absolutely crispy now. And I could tell they were getting clogged up because if you watch the live stream, if you go to the clear coat, you can see it is getting really foggy, really hazy. It just wasn't filtering as much as I would have liked. And you know, we just weren't getting as good of filtration, pulling everything out. We were still getting fresh air in here, but I could smell it in my mask because there was so much in the air still. So I went ahead and had to take a break to let it go ahead and die down. So if you guys are doing this, keep an eye on your filters, keep an eye on the air quality. You know, you want to protect your lungs. If you can start smelling it through your respirator, it's probably a bad time. So always keep an eye on that. Make sure you're doing okay. All that to say, once we go through here, we get up to the paint gun, and this is the Harbor Freight Spectre gun. This one was like $70 or $80 on a Black Friday sale. I think it's doing like 110, 120. I think it's a 1.3, yeah, 1.3 nozzle. Worked really well. So we go through a dryer and then a pressure regulator. Does not come with the gun. You need to buy that separately. And then into the gun itself. This gun is really nice. I do love it quite well. And there's always like the Black Widow series you can get as well. It's like slightly more expensive. And then it's, you know, supposed to be the best one you can get. But basically, if you're going to be getting this one, if you pull to here, kind of like where you hit the first stop, that's all air. And then if you pull further than that, that is when fluid comes out. So it allows you to go ahead and start the air and then start the paint as you're going across the panel, and then let go of the paint and then stop the air. So you get that nice like feather on either side of it. So you're not starting and stopping on the actual panel. It works really well. I haven't seen any issues with that setup. So everything's looking good. It takes these paint cans, guys. They cups look like this. They have the ring and the cup on the bottom, and then there are liners, which is, you can see this is actually some of the mid coat in here. It's a liner and then a top piece, and then it comes with caps as well. So if you get these smaller kind of boxes, you get to the cups and 5 liners, and they can get bigger boxes without cups. It's just the liners, but it's significantly cheaper for the liners. So you guys are going to do that. Highly recommend it. Get probably 2 cups, just because it is actually very helpful. If you have extras, you can swap out, or you can set up 2 at a time and then hot swap it onto the gun, because, you know, the pot life of these is usually, you know, a couple hours. So if you go ahead and mix 2 batches up, you can go ahead and have them ready, and then when you run out of one, just swap to the next and call it a day. But then get, you know, another thing of liners. You're going to need probably 15 liners or so if you're going to do a whole paint job like I am. So definitely keep that in mind. I took, I think, 2 or 3 liners just to do 2 coats of base coats. It might have been 3 or 4 actually. I forget exactly how many I did for the base coat, but it took a decent amount of that. And then, you know, every single coat basically you're using another liner. So I only did 1 coat of mid coat, and I think 1 liner was enough for all of that. Could have been 2. That might be... No, I think that's the first one. So I think I only did 1 liner of mid coat, and I used 3 liners of clear coats, I think. Something along those lines. So I used a fair amount, and obviously I still have a lot to paint. All that to say, this is looking really good, guys. I'm really happy with it. This was my whole setup. It worked really well. Go ahead and that spray can right there is spray gun cleaner. You want to make sure your gun is clean when you're done with it, so it doesn't build up and dry inside the gun. Yeah, I think that's really good. Obviously I have plastic all on the floors. I mentioned before it was getting really sticky, hard to walk on, so keep that in mind as well. I've plasticed off, you know, all of this stuff here, and then actually before the paint dried, I pulled off any of these areas on the doors that we had masked. And even in here, we had masked off this area, and this is, you can kind of see the OEM paint and then the new paint. There's a slight color difference, but it looks fine still. All this area is covered by plastic, so I really wasn't too worried about it looking, you know, kind of crazy. But everything was looking really good. Go ahead and close this. So moving on to the actual paint job of the car, it came out really, really well. Obviously there's a few areas where there's like dust nibs, you know, like fish eyes from like contamination. But I am honestly so genuinely happy with it. It looks really good. We have 2 areas we need to touch up. See if I can get over here for you guys. It is right there. You might be able to tell on screen. It kind of looks like stuff spilled on it. That is actually running mid-coat. So when I was spraying the mid-coat, I didn't notice until I started spraying the gloss on top that we had, I think this was, I don't know if like the gun kind of spurted or if I actually just ran in these areas, but it kind of looks like a little weird. It really just looks dirty, honestly. I could leave it and just say, oh yeah, you know, I just didn't wash it. But I think we'll actually go ahead, sand that down, and then refinish just that small area right there. And then coming over to this side here, the only other issue that I've found so far is that I ran the clear coat in this area right there. You can see there's clear coat runs and then a couple little dribbles on the fender arch, and then that run, okay, you can't really see it, it goes up to about right here. So we'll go ahead and sand all this down, polish it, it'll look great. We're gonna polish the whole car anyways. It looks so glossy, like it really doesn't need it, but I think it'll make it just look really, really good. So guys, I am super happy with how this is coming out. We still have tons more work to do. So we have the front fenders, the front bumper, rear bumper, and the hood, as well as the gas cap, the headlight bucket covers as well. And I think, yeah, the rear hatch, this guy right here. So we still have a few more things to paint. And I think I mentioned it, but I'm going to go ahead and paint some areas black. So the chrome trim on all this, we're going to go ahead and paint that black. The rear area here where the license plate goes, that's going to be black. Part of the rear bumper and part of the front bumper are going to be black. So there is still plenty and plenty and plenty of work to do. I think we're only like halfway through it, despite having a good majority of the car done. We still have plenty of work. So I don't think I'm going to do live streams for those guys. If you watched them, thank you. But it was just kind of not super easy to see what was going on, and I didn't have the ability to kind of, you know, move you guys around. So I'll just be working on those. You guys will see them in these videos and it'll look fine. You guys will be able to see the whole process for that as well. The black is kind of throwing me for a loop trying to figure out when I should paint it. Should I paint the white and then the black, or the black and then the white? Because the white needs a mid coat, but then you have to scuff in order to paint on top of it. So if I waited for the white to dry and then I scuffed the mid coat, would that make the metallic look weird? I just don't know. So it is just kind of a whole thing of trying to figure out the process. And when we get there, we will go ahead and work on that. I think I've worked out that I'm gonna go ahead and do the white first. And then we might end up having to just paint the black separately and then blend the two together. I'm kind of worried about like paint, like ridges where there's like tape. But I think that that's going to be easier to fix than trying to sand either the mid coat or the black, because I don't know if sanding the black would make it look kind of hazy as well. So I think we might go ahead and do it like that. Yeah, so next steps, I'm gonna go ahead and push this car all the way to that wall so we get a lot of working area over here. So we can go ahead and start working on all the other things to paint. But I'm really excited, guys. Hopefully we make some really good progress in the next few days here. Hopefully the next video for you guys has some good stuff in it. I need to go ahead and do plenty of body work on the front fenders. Oh, the side skirts. These guys right here, we're gonna go ahead and paint those as well. They need a little bit of touch up. One of them has kind of a large chunk taken out of it, so we'll go ahead and put some body fill in there, shape that, make it look good. And then the rear bumper, we're actually going to be filling in the license plate area because the rear bumper is made for a Kuki, and obviously my car is a Zenki. So we need to go ahead and fill in where the license plate would go on the Kuki bumper. We'll go ahead and fill that over, put an insert in there, and it should look really good. So guys, stay tuned for that as well. And there you go, guys. So this has been an absolute fun project for me. I've been having so much fun, and honestly, it came out so much better than I expected. So I'm really, really happy. All right, guys. So what I want to do right now is go and kind of set the camera up and then talk to you guys about 2024 and then where we're going to be going in 2025. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. And if not, I don't mind seeing you guys next week. But there we go. I'll go ahead and set the camera up and we'll talk a little bit more.
All right, guys, so I want to go ahead and talk about 2024 as a year in review, kind of what we've done on the Z, and then 2025 and where we're going to be going, and kind of what the timeline is, because it's actually pretty aggressive, and I know I've said it before, but we have some major things coming up that I really want to hit, so we need to put the pedal to the metal. So 2024, guys, if you remember about this time last year, beginning of January, you can find 2020, or I think it's 2024 update, something like that, and it is me standing here kind of near a similar looking car saying, we are going to get this car done this year and we're going to take it to Branson Z-Fest. The whole goal of 2024 was to take it to Branson Z-Fest. And if you guys have been following the channel, if you guys know what's been going on, we got so close. We got so close to taking to Branson Z-Fest. The car was running and driving. And if I knew what I knew now back then, I think we probably could have made it, with the exception of the exhaust, because it's pretty rough right now with just the dump, and it really makes my throat hurt. But if I kind of knew what issues that I was facing and I could kind of, retroactively go back, we probably could have made it. But I'm also glad that, this has always still been a learning process, and it's been, great things to kind of, figuring out how to diagnose and check different things when I run into issues. One of the biggest reasons that I didn't take this to Branson was because the brakes felt so bad on this. And it turned out that I just had the brake booster check valve in the wrong direction. And that would have made it feel so good. But again, there were other issues, like there was no AC. The windows kind of work. One of them is stuck down right now, and the other one is just kind of like having fun. So we need to go ahead and fix the windows. And then, other things that were just, not quite done. The paint was not ready to be vinyl wrapped, because obviously we hadn't painted it. And then, so I was kind of cleaning up the paint to go ahead and vinyl wrap it. But there was still tons more work to do with vinyl wrapping. That is a whole process in itself. It was a lot of fun, but it is kind of an expensive and difficult endeavor if you're just by yourself. So that was interesting. But we ended up taking the Miata to Branson Z-Fest. Well, I ended up taking the Miata to Branson Z-Fest, and I didn't film tons of video for you guys because there wasn't tons of Z31 content. But let me tell you, if you guys have ever been to Branson Z-Fest, or if you're planning on going, you have to do it. You have to go to Branson Z-Fest if you have the ability. The roads in Branson and around Branson are some of the most incredible roads that I've ever driven on. Having a Miata, which is a tight handling, little roadster, it was an absolute blast. I can't wait to have this thing there with nice turbo power. It's going to be so much fun. I literally cannot wait. I'm moving heaven and earth to make it this year as well. So I'm going to be going to Branson Z-Fest in 2025. They just announced the dates. I think it's pretty much the same time, at the very last week of May, right before June, I think. You can find the Branson Z-Fest Facebook group if you guys want to go find that, join in. You can get updates on things, see other people's cars as well. But I am, unless something crazy happens, I am going to Branson Z-Fest 2025. So if you guys can be there, come see, this Z, come bring your Zs. I want to see more Z31s there. I think there were 7 or 8 last year. I want to see more. They've said that there have been like 15 to 20 before. I want that again. So if you guys can make it to Branson Z-Fest 2025, please do. I will be there. It is going to be an absolute blast. It is so much fun. So we have a very similar goal for 2025 that we do for 2024, but the car is in a much better place. The engine and transmission and everything are all put together. They're working properly, which, wasn't quite the case for last year. In the next few weeks here, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up painting everything. So this car is gonna be one nice, beautiful color again. It's gonna look so good, guys. I'm super excited for it. And then a couple of things that we need to keep working on are we need to get the exhaust integrated. So I have, like part of the exhaust in right now, but it needs to be integrated to the downpipe. I do want to put a catalytic converter in here because I want to be able to breathe and I want to be able to take this on road trips without gassing myself to death. And let's be honest, guys, a catalytic converter these days doesn't take out too much power. Yes, you sacrifice a little bit, but this setup is more than capable of the power that we need with the catalytic converter. I'm aiming for about 350 horsepower right now because it's kind of clutch limited at this point. I could put in a stronger clutch, but we're going to be probably losing a little bit of drivability. So we're going to go ahead and kind of weigh those options when we get there. And then I think injectors would be the next thing up after that we need to go ahead and swap, but those are not going to be difficult to actually do. They're right on top of the engine. Pop them out, pop them in. So if we need to, we can go ahead and upgrade those as well. But 350 horse for now. It's gonna have a catalytic converter. It's gonna have if you guys heard this car before, I have some clips of it. If you guys need them, I can show you where they are. I have some clips of what this sounds like with the catalytic converter and with this muffler, and it sounds so good. It's a very nice cruising race car, and it is just an absolute blast to listen to and drive, and I cannot wait for this to happen again. With the way that the turbo sounds with just that single filter right on front there, it sounds so good. So I'm super happy, guys. Other things that we need to work on, it needs AC. We need to go ahead and work on the throttle a little bit. I think I've mentioned this a few times, but the throttle does not fully open right now. The pedal throw does not match the distance that, like the arc length distance that the throttle needs it to move. So I think we're only opening like 30 to 50% of the throttle, and that's severely impacting the low end drivability. Not drivability, but like the low end response. We're just not able to get as much air into the intake as we need for the low end kind of torque. So it does take some time for everything to come online and the boost to start building. And then I think we're only making about 8 PSI right now. I do have an adjustable wastegate that we will go, or an electronic wastegate controller. So we will go ahead and integrate that as well. AC, throttle, the exhaust, I think that is actually pretty much it in terms of mechanical work that we still need to do on this car. Wheels and tires don't really count, although I still want to kind of go ahead and kind of mull over my options on whether we're going with aftermarket wheels or if I want to try to repaint these, kind of see what they would look like, because they are a nice period wheel. Although I might try to source some kooky wheels because I like kind of the flat turbofan look a little bit more than these ones, but we'll see as that goes along. I think that's it, guys. Like, we're doing so good in terms of what we have left to do. We got so much progress done in 2024. I'm so happy that we're actually getting this done. I think we started this final build series about 2.5 years ago. And if you know me, I've had this car for either 7 or 8 years. I can't remember what it is. So I'm so glad that we're actually getting to a point where this is looking really good, driving really good, and we have tons of really cool stuff on here. This isn't the end for this car. There's going to be more iteration on it in the future once we even get past this build stage, but once we do, there's going to be so much more driving, there's going to be so much more cruising and having fun, you know, going to events and things, and that's really what I'm looking forward to, because as much fun as sitting alone in my garage is working on this car, it is so much more fun when you're out with friends and actually driving and enjoying it. So 2025 is going to look crazy, guys. Hopefully in the next 2.5 months, I'm aiming end of February to middle of March, this car is a daily driver capable car. Not necessarily that I am daily driving it, but I want all the bodywork to be done, which should be finishing up here in the next 2-3 weeks, maybe, fingers crossed. Then we have probably about a week of putting everything on here, because there is so much stuff that I took off of this car in order to get it to this state. We need to go ahead and kind of refill it back in. Probably about a month for all that process, and then probably another month to a month and a half of figuring out AC, figuring out the throttle, and then, you know, wheels and tires and everything, because I kind of have a secret deadline middle of March that I haven't told anybody about yet, and I'm not telling you guys what it is yet either, but I have a secret deadline that I'm trying to hit before then. So guys, 2025 is going to be off to a great start, and we're going to keep full throttle all the way through it. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have been a follower, like a subscriber, or just a viewer for a really long time, thank you so much. I am really happy with how much progress we made this last year, and I cannot wait for the amazing driving that we're going to be having this next year, because I want to drive this car so bad. You know, I got a little taste of it on the first cruise. You guys can go watch that, and it sounds fun. It's tons of fun to drive, but there is still so much more in it, and I cannot wait. So, guys, thank you for watching. Here's to a great 2024, and here's to an even better 2025, where we keep moving forward and get this car done and just start driving it the way that we want to. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.